Welcome to episode 264 of OTD, your daily dose of soccer history by 17 Laws Guy. It's July 22nd, 1951. Maracanã, Palmeiras against Juventus. It's the second leg of the Copa Rio final. Officially, it's the Torneio Internacional de Campeões, an international tournament for champion clubs. Clubs from South America, clubs from Europe, before the European Cup, before the Copa Libertadores, before the Intercontinental Cup, and way before the FIFA Club World Cup. And on this day, Palmeiras draw 2-2 with Juventus, win the final tie, become champions of the first serious intercontinental club tournament in football history. But how did we get here? Start 1 year earlier. Brazil 1950. The World Cup has just been played in Brazil. The Maracanã has been built. The country has expected coronation. Instead, Uruguay win the final match of the final group, the Maracanazo. Silence, shock, a national wound. So Brazilian football has a problem. How do you bring people back? How do you use this enormous new stadium? How do you make Rio, Sao Paulo, and Brazil feel like the center of football again? One answer is obvious: bring the world back. But not national teams this time. Clubs. That's the real leap. Because in 1951, the club world is not organized the way we know it now. There's no UEFA Champions League, no European Cup at all, no Copa Libertadores, no regular South America versus Europe world title match. There are important predecessors. The Mitropa Cup in Central Europe. I talked about its origin in episode 13. The Copa Latina. The South American Championship of Champions in 1948, which I talked about in episode 134. But a tournament in which major clubs from South America and Europe meet in one place in a structured competition with a title at stake, that is new. And this is where the human machinery matters. The organizer is the CBD, the Confederação Brasileira de Desportos, the predecessor of today's CBF. The Brazilian Confederation makes the tournament happen. But the idea has several fathers. Mário Filho, the great Brazilian journalist, is central to the Brazilian imagination of the event. This is the same Mário Filho whose name would later be attached to the Maracanã itself. His brother, Nilson Rodrigues, called the Copa Rio an event of world football. Then there's Stanley Rous, the English administrator, later FIFA president. Brazilian reports credit Rous with proposing to the CBD a tournament of champions from FIFA countries. Then there's Ottorino Barassi. He's one of football's great bureaucratic survivors, Italian, powerful, connected to FIFA, and a man involved in World Cups before the war, and famous for protecting the Jules Rimet trophy during the Second World War. You heard that right. It's an OTD story for another day, surely. Barassi becomes crucial because he can work the European side. He recruits, he negotiates, he tries to turn a Brazilian idea into a workable intercontinental field. And above all, sits Jules Rimet. Careful wording here. The Copa Rio is not a FIFA-organized tournament in the modern sense. Rimet himself said the competition was the CBD's responsibility. But he approved the model, and the involvement of men like Barassi and Rous gave the tournament real international weight. So the Copa Rio sits in that fascinating old football space, not fully official by today's institutional categories, but far too serious to dismiss as a summer friendly. Now to the selection. The original dream is bigger, 16 champion clubs, like a club version of the 1950 World Cup. But travel, money, calendars, refusals, and logistics shrink it to 8. 2 Brazilian clubs are included because there's no national club championship in Brazil yet. So the host country is represented by its 2 biggest state champions, Vasco da Gama, 1950 champion of Rio, and Palmeiras, 1950 champion of Sao Paulo. Then come the foreign champions and invitees, Nacional of Uruguay, 1950 Uruguayan champion, Sporting of Portugal, 1951 Portuguese champion, Juventus of Italy, champion of Serie A in 1950, invited after Milan, the 1951 champion, chose the Latin Cup instead. Nice of France, champion of Division 1. Austria Wien, Austrian champion from 1950, after other Austrian complications and refusals. And Crvena Zvezda, Red Star Belgrade, representing Yugoslavia. There are absences. English clubs don't come. Spanish representation don't materialize. Others are discussed, invited, replaced, or impossible. And that is part of the story. The Copa Rio is ambitious enough to reveal the problem that would haunt club world football for decades. Everyone likes the idea of a world title, until calendars, money, prestige, travel, and domestic priorities get in the way. The format is simple. 2 groups. Rio de Janeiro group at the Maracanã, Sao Paulo group at the Pacaembu. Top two from each group to the semifinals, then two-legged semifinals, and then a two-legged final. In Rio, Vasco are the team to fear. They had won the 1948 South American Championship of Champions. They have stars. They have weight. They win their group. Austria Wien finished second. In Sao Paulo, Juventus topped the group, and Palmeiras finished second. The key fact here is that Juventus beat Palmeiras 4-0 in the group. 4-0. So if Palmeiras are going to win this tournament, they're going to have to overcome not only Juventus, but the memory of Juventus crushing them. In the semifinals, Juventus beat Austria Wien over 2 legs. Palmeiras face Vasco, and this is massive. The Rio giant, the favorite, the Maracanã host power. Palmeiras win the first leg 2-1, then draw 0-0 in the second. So Palmeiras end up in the final against Juventus. The first leg, July 18, is played at Pacaembu. Palmeiras win 1-0. Rodriguez scores, and that gives them the advantage, but not the trophy yet. So now, on this day, July 22nd, we are at the Maracanã, second leg, about 100,000 people. Juventus have Giampiero Boniperti. They have the Danish stars Karl Ove Præst and John Hansen. They have Italian football's authority. Palmeiras have Jair Rosa Pinto, Liminha, Rodriguez, Fabio, Salvador, and Juvenal. A team wearing green, but also carrying a Brazilian need after 1950. Please someone win something international in this stadium. In the 18th minute, Præst scores. Juventus lead. The tie is alive. In the early second half, Rodriguez equalizes. Palmeiras are back in control. But then Boniperti scores. Juventus 2, Palmeiras 1. And the trophy shakes. That scoreline, 2-1, invokes too many bad memories of Maracanazo the year before. But then comes the 78th minute. Liminha scores. It's 2-2 and relief. And now Palmeiras have what they need. So they defend until the final whistle, and Palmeiras are champions. The team that lost 4-0 to Juventus in the group has beaten Juventus when it mattered. 1-0 in Sao Paulo, 2-2 in Rio, Copa Rio 1. And the celebration is enormous. In Rio, the title is framed as something more than club glory. In Sao Paulo, Palmeiras returned to a massive reception. The Brazilian press called them champions of the world, champions of champions, Brazil restored. You don't have to accept every word of the old headlines to understand the emotion. A year after the Maracanazo, a Brazilian club has beaten a major European club at the Maracanã and brought home an international title. That mattered. But so what? Well, first Palmeiras. For the club, 1951 becomes foundational, not just a trophy, but a statement of identity. Palmeiras had Italian roots. They had been Palestra Italia before Brazil's wartime politics forced the name change in 1942. It was part of the story in OTD episode 5, which is very much worth a listen. And now, less than a decade later, they beat Juventus, an Italian giant, in Brazil, at the Maracanã. There's symbolism everywhere. Green against black and white, old identity against new name, Italian heritage against Italian opposition. A Brazilian club claiming the world. And that is why Palmeiras never treated the Copa Rio as a curiosity. For them, it was always part of the club's deepest mythology. Then there was the football ecosystem. Copa Rio 1951 does not create a permanent World Club Championship. That is important. The machinery is still too fragile. Travel is hard. Calendars are incompatible. European clubs are not always convinced. And the next edition, in 1952, is won by Fluminense, but it does not carry quite the same weight. The tournament does not become the stable institution its creators imagined. But as an idea, it is seismic. It shows that club football is no longer local or even national. It wants a world. And soon after, Gabriel Ano, L'Équipe and UEFA, once established, create the European Cup in 1955. And South America creates the Copa Libertadores in 1960. Then Europe and South America create the Intercontinental Cup. And much later, FIFA builds its own Club World Cup structure. So the Copa Rio is not a straight-line ancestor in a clean legal family tree. Football history almost never works that neatly. It's more like a prototype, a proof of concept, a first attempt. The club world trying to exist before the club world had its institutions. And there is a recognition debate, and this is where we should be precise. FIFA has, at different moments, recognized the historical importance of Palmeiras' 1951 title and described the Copa Rio as the first Intercontinental club tournament, and at times as the first worldwide club competition. But FIFA hasn't simply folded the Copa Rio into the modern FIFA Club World Cup as if it were the same tournament. So in 2026, the safest historical sentence is this: Palmeiras won the first major intercontinental club tournament between South American and European clubs. That sentence is strong enough. It doesn't need message board exaggeration, because the achievement is already huge. Before UEFA organized European club football, before CONMEBOL organized South American club football, before the Intercontinental Cup, before global club football had a calendar, a governing structure, or a television project, there was Brazil, there was the CBD, there were Mário Filho, Rous, Barassi, and Rimet in the background, and there were 8 clubs, 2 cities, 2 great stadiums, and 1 final at the Maracanã, and Palmeiras won it. Before we go, 3 things to take away from July 22nd, 1951. First, Copa Rio was not just another invitational. It was the first serious attempt to stage a club world across continents, with South American and European champions and major clubs in one competition. Second, the organizers matter. The CBD made it happen. Mário Filho helped shape the idea. Stanley Rous and Ottorino Barassi gave it international reach, and Jules Rimet's approval gave it prestige, even if FIFA did not organize it as a modern FIFA competition. And third, Palmeiras' win became a prototype for the future. European Cup, Libertadores, Intercontinental Cup, Club World Cup, all of them belong to the later institutional world that Copa Rio was trying to imagine first. On this day in 1951, Palmeiras drew 2-2 with Juventus at the Maracanã. Rodriguez scored. Lemina scored. Palmeiras won the Copa Rio, and football saw, for the first time, what a world of clubs might look like. That is all for episode 264 of OTD, your daily dose of soccer history by 17 Laws Guy. If you loved this story as much as I love telling it, why don't you rate the show 5 stars or share it with all your friends? By doing so, you help push the show in front of more people, and we get more of those involved in spreading the history of the beautiful game. Tomorrow, we go to July 23rd, of course, 1966, England against Argentina, Antonio Ratin's sending off, and the World Cup quarterfinal that led to the invention of red and yellow cards. See you then.